Good evening, Instagram, and hello to everyone watching this back later on Facebook. Happy Sunday, happy long weekend here in Queensland. It is Lee here, and I am cooking a very easy Sunday dinner tonight. So I thought I'd jump on live and show you the high heat function in the TM6. So tonight I am making a Silverbeet and mushroom pasta on Cookidoo. This, I leave the mushrooms out. Hello Julie. Hello to everyone who's jumping on. Hello everyone. My partner Paul is Italian, and this is something that his nonna used to make for them all the time, tomato and Silverbeet pasta. And we had it once, I think we had it over in Perth with his family. I was like, this is so delicious, and we found this recipe on Cookidoo. It's got mushrooms in it, as I said, but I just leave them out, and it is fantastic. It's a really, really delicious recipe and super easy. It says it takes half an hour on Cookidoo. I think it takes a lot less. I'm actually just going to move my iPad there. That actually might help with the lighting a bit. There we go. That lights up my face a bit better. So I have got it dialed in on Cookidoo, ready to go, and we're going to get started. We're not going to fluff around tonight. Cook pasta as per packet instructions, then set it aside in a thermal serving bowl while you get on with the rest of the recipe. I'm going to start them in a minute, because they won't take very long at all. Into the Thermomix, 4 garlic cloves. You know, I never follow the recipe when it comes to garlic, so I've got 5. If you are watching live, feel free to ask any questions as we go. If you're watching this back later on Instagram or Facebook, hashtag replay, and feel free to still comment any questions you want, and I'll come back to you. So, lid on, we're going to blitz up the garlic. All right, 3 seconds, speed 7. Now it says do not scrape down the sides of the mixing bowl. I should actually grab my spatula, probably in the kitchen drawer somewhere. Now, if you are new here, hello. If you are have been around for a while, you know that every time I cook something, whether it's a live or a demo, I always forget one ingredient. So let's see how we go with this. I'm going to show you though, that garlic, those 5 huge garlic cloves are absolutely chopped into smithereens. Now we're going to add 3 stalks of Silverbeet. I've cut it up into sort of large chunks like that. I'm dropping it. There we go. I'll just show you in the bowl. How's that? So cut it up. It says 3 stalks of Silverbeet. I always put more because you don't just use 3 stalks and then not know what to do with the rest of the Silverbeet. So I usually buy a bunch and do most of the bunch because it bulks it out, it makes it a bit more filling, and because I don't put the mushrooms in, this kind of helps make up for the mushrooms. So we keep the leaves separate. So I've cut them up in a bowl. They go in later. The first part we're using the high heat. 100 grams of red onion cut into wedges. So I've got that here ready to go. I'm just going to sort of break up the layers as we throw it in. 66, 81, 93. Oh, that's nearly the whole onion. That's good. 105 grams. That's fine. 20 grams of extra virgin olive oil in my fancy new oil bottle that I bought today. How nice is that? That's such a better pouring experience than straight out of the huge big 1 litre bottle. All right, 19, 20 grams. Next. Okay, splash guard on because we are using high heat. So lid on, when it asks you to put the splash guard on, measuring cup comes off, splash guard goes on. This is with the TM6. TM5 does not have high heat. The TM7 has a completely new lid, which means you don't need the splash guard for high heat, which is brilliant. We call it browning mode on the TM7. Now, 12 minutes, high heat, and this is when I'm going to start my pasta. So the Thermomix turns everything for a couple of seconds, 10 seconds to be exact, and then it stops. And that bowl gets up to 160 degrees really quick, and I can already hear it sizzling. And we are 22 seconds into the cook. So we get it really hot. What's that on the wall behind me? That is my brother being a smart ass. So we can pop that out of the way, and I'm going to get onto my pasta. So I'm using orecchiette tonight. You can use any sort of pasta, rigatoni, anything like that. 250 grams straight in there. And then I'm just going to pop some hot water and some salt in there, and I'm using the microwave to cook this tonight. Now, orecchiette does swell up quite a fair bit, so make sure you've got lots of water to let it move around in there. Good dash of salt. I'm actually using the Tupperware rice cooker. If you've got one of these, you can also use it for pasta. Chuck that in the microwave for about 14-15 minutes, which will probably take us just towards the end of this recipe. I'm going to start off with 10 minutes on that, and then we can check it and see how we're going. So high heat mode, very exciting on the TM7, is called browning mode, and it is unlocked. So those of you with a TM6 will know that you can only use the high heat mode if it's programmed into a recipe. That smells so good. The garlic and the onions sautéing smells phenomenal. I just got a mouthful of it. High heat mode is only programmed into recipes. So you can't just like choose your time and randomly saute something. There is some collections on Cookidoo. I just realised I forgot an ingredient. I told you I always forget an ingredient. So you can dial it up on Cookidoo in one of the collections and use high heat for like meat and vegetables, and we've sort of got some like presets in there. The TM7 unlocks it. So the TM7 is going to have browning mode, which you can go into. You can choose gentle or intense. I'm yet to find out what the difference is between them, but there's two types of browning. It's both 160 degrees, and of course you can choose your time. So if you want to brown something for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, all that sort of thing, you can set that completely manually on the TM7. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, because I use high heat quite a lot, and I always sort of do a bit of a sneaky thing, and I find a recipe that has high heat in it kind of like what I want. So if I'm cooking mince with high heat, I use the Matt Sinclair Sanchoy Bao recipe, which many consultants will tell you is a little trick, because that has browning mince using the high heat mode in the recipe. So we kind of bring that up, but I'm looking forward to just being able to do it manually on the TM7. So I can just throw the mince in, choose how long I want to brown it for, and just let it go. And I don't have to sort of fiddle around finding a recipe and that kind of thing. The other new thing which I saw in our TM6 versus TM7 webinar the other day is the new open cooking mode. So you literally cook without the lid. The blades don't turn. It acts like a saucepan. You can put the lid on if you want, but you can leave the lid off, and it acts like a saucepan. So I saw a meatball recipe being cooked the other day on our webinar, and they just had the jug with the lid off, cooking away. It was about 95 degrees. So it was, slowly bubbling, but not, splattering everywhere, which was great. And it was just like you were simmering meatballs on a pot on the stove, which is such an incredible new way of cooking on the TM7, because it means you can taste things, it means you can season them, you can check them, the blades aren't going to turn, so they're not going to destroy any food, especially if you're cooking things like meatballs in a sauce. The other thing with the TM7 is if you are using it just for cooking or mixing and chopping and blending and whatever, if it is speed 2 or below, the lid is actually technically unlocked. So you can take the lid off to check your cooking, taste it, season it, as I said, up to speed 2, up to 100 degrees. The machine will stop. So as soon as you take the lid off, the blades will stop. So you can't get cut or anything like that. You can do what you need to, taste, season, etc. And then you put the lid back on and it resumes automatically. So the new TM7 bowl has the locking mechanism for the lid in the handle and it knows that it's there. So it's got sensors, it knows whether the lid's on or off. Brilliant, brilliant innovation. That means cooking is a lot more intuitive, it's a lot more seamless, it's a lot more, I guess, interactive and hands-on as well for those who love to cook. I know I love to cook, I like to taste things, I like to season them, I like to check if the pasta's cooked or the sauce is at the right consistency and things like that. So the TM7, when it comes to that, is going to completely change everything. But for now, TM6 is on run out. So if you haven't got a Thermomix and you're thinking about one, the TM6 is just as good. Still got your high heat mode in Cookidoo, and it's a trusty workhorse that people have had for years, consultants know and love, and you get $1,000 of bonuses with it, which is pretty awesome. So we've got about 5 minutes left. I can hear it still sizzling away. So 12 minutes, it's going to cook down the stalks of the Silverbeet with that onion and the garlic and essentially create the base for our sauce. And then you can add the mushrooms in if you want. As I said, I leave the mushrooms out. So I just skip that step when it comes to it. But who's watching? Who's got any questions? Feel free to ask in the comments any questions you've got. Oh, it smells so good. The garlic and the onion smells phenomenal. They're what really make this recipe. That's why I put a bit of extra garlic in, because it's delicious with the Silverbeet, the tomato, classic flavours of Italy. And of course, sautéed to perfection. I hope you can all hear me as well. I've been yapping away and I haven't even gotten anyone to check if you can hear me. If someone's watching and you can hear me, let me know, yes. That'll also make sure the comments are working. Let me know who's watching if you've got a Thermomix, what model you've got. What are you cooking for dinner tonight? And where are you watching from? Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Margaret. Sorry. Oops. Siri's trying to listen to me. What are you cooking for dinner tonight? And is it a long weekend where you are? Who's in Queensland? Who is in Queensland with the long weekend? Another long weekend. So 3 minutes left on our microwave for our pasta. That's 10 minutes. I'm going to check it. I always like to check it. If it's cooked, then I can take it out, because you can't uncook pasta, if that makes sense. And I'm going to grab one of our thermo servers out of the cupboard. Hello, Mitch. Thank you for jumping on live with me. It's one thing about the TM6, the splash guard. I can't look at what's happening. I know it's there for safety reasons. You don't want hot oil splashing on you, but I love to look. I like to risk it and look what's happening. But 2.5 minutes, I'll say. You can stop it if you want and check what's happening, but when you restart the high heat mode, the blades will turn to mix everything at the start, and after it's already been cooking for a while, you don't want the blades moving that sort of, I guess, quickly because you'll chop everything up. But you can hear every now and then the blades move during high heat, and that's for the stirring. 12 minutes, it's not that long, but there is plenty of things you could be doing in this time. I got the pasta on. I could have been cutting up the Silverbeet, but I already had it ready. Getting all the rest of your recipes ready, you can hit the preview and go next, 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 and you can skip through and see what the next steps are to get things ready. On the TM7, you will be able to just swipe down, so it's very intuitive. They've designed the user interface like we use our phones. Everything's swiping up and down, like we do on our phones. You'll be able to swipe down to see all the next steps. And then there's a little green button where you can press, and it will take you back to where you were. So it's super, super intuitive. What I've seen from it so far is incredible, and I'm so hanging out to get one. 24th of May, we do our special TM7 training, and that's when we get our machines. And then I head to Japan on the 4th of June. So I'm going to be cramming as much playtime and content on the TM7 into that week and a half after I get it, before I go to Japan, as humanly possible, because I want to show all of you. And to those of you who have already pre-ordered it, we'll be having we'll try and do a video, Zoom, video call, something like that. If you've already got a Thermomix, you're going to find it really easy to go from the TM6 to the TM7. There's a few differences, but I think generally you'll find it easy. If you're new and you order a TM7, we'll definitely be doing your first cook delivery demo together before I go. All right. Oh, everything's going at once. That would be right. So let's check our pasta. Let's see how this is going. Ooh, that looks like it might be cooked. Okay, let's grab a spoon and give this a little stir. Grab one of them. Check. Now, when you put it in the thermoserver, the residual heat is going to keep it cooking anyway. That's really hot. I'm going to sit that over here so we can keep going with this. All right. Splash guard off. Yum. This looks incredible. So hopefully you can see that, but you can see the browning on that. So the red onion smells amazing. There we go. That's probably a bit better if I give it a bit of a mix, because the red onion's really sweet. You've got that garlic browned beautifully in there. I'm going to give it a little scrape. Now, the reason you don't scrape down the sides earlier with the garlic is you don't want all the garlic on the bottom of the bowl, because the blades won't move that around, and that means that it will just burn on the bottom of the bowl. So next, 40 grams of white wine. You could just put chicken stock or something in if you didn't want to use wine. It does cook off though. It's more so about the flavour. This is where you would put your 200 grams of fresh button mushrooms in, cut in halves, but we're skipping that. And then without the measuring cup, because we want it to steam and cook off that wine. So that's when you leave the measuring cup off. All right. So let's move that out of the way and we'll test our pasta. Oh no, not cooked yet. So he can go back in there. Definitely needs longer. So this is like 5 minutes for this step. The next step is very, very brief with all your tomatoes and stuff. So 250 grams of passata, 30 grams of tomato paste, salt, pepper, and then again without the measuring cup, 5 minutes. And then this recipe is done. So it's a super, super easy, delicious recipe. You can pair it with whatever pasta you like, which is great. I'm using orecchiette tonight. The picture on Cookidoo is showing orecchiette, but I've also done it with rigatoni, and rigatoni is just as good. Let me know what pasta you would use. That wine smells amazing. How are we in 2025 and no one has invented smell-o-vision yet? I feel like that's something we need. I feel like it's also the most said thing on any live cooking show, cooking demonstration, anything like that. Everyone always says, you need smell-o-vision. Alright. How long have we got? 3 minutes. So that's going to cook down nicely. It's on reverse stirring speed, so it's nice and gentle. It's going backwards. Remember, the back of the blades on the Thermomix are blunt, so they're not cutting up the food as it's turning when it's on reverse. It smells amazing. All right, we're going to start putting a few things away, because that's what I love to do when I am cooking and the Thermomix is doing its thing. Always put things away so that when I sit down for dinner there is minimal dishes to be done. Have a look at this oil bottle. It's quite nice. $10. Can't go wrong with that. I can already smell that wine it's cooked off. So it does this cooking at 120 degrees. So that's going to boil and cook off any alcohol in the wine. You could even use veggie stock paste, actually. You could use veggie stock paste and a bit of water if you didn't want to use wine. Actually, probably not vegetable stock paste, it's too salty. I'd use just water or chicken stock if you were going to do that. Remember, with the button mushrooms, if you're putting them in, they've got quite a high water content. So they are also going to leach water, that's not the right word, but they're going to sweat down, that's the word I'm looking for. They're going to sweat down when they're cooking as well and add more moisture. So if you're using the mushrooms and you didn't want to put wine in, you could probably get away with actually not using the water at all, because you've already got some oil in there, and I think that's plenty. The good thing with the wine is as well is it deglazes the bottom of the Thermomix bowl. So when you use the high heat mode, you will notice there is browning on the bottom of the bowl. It's stainless steel, which is fantastic because it means no nasties. All right, our pasta's finished again, right as this is about to finish. So I'll leave the pasta in for a minute and we'll check it in a sec. Then next is the passata and some tomato paste, and I bet I need to open the foil on this. Yep. Okay, next, there's the measuring cup in to take it off. So, excuse me, zero your scales. When you take the lid off, the TM6, it will go into minus. The TM7 detects you've taken the lid off and automatically zeroes the scales. It doesn't really start the scales until you take the lid off. So 250 grams of passata. And you know what? I always put an extra dollop for good luck. Because I haven't got the mushrooms and all that extra liquid, you can afford to put a little bit more in. Next, 30 grams of tomato paste. That's going to give it some nice richness. There we go. Next, half a teaspoon of sea salt. teaspoon. Measure with your heart, that's what I always say, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground pepper. That'll do. Without measuring cup again. Next, 5 minutes, 100 degrees again. All right, so let's pop that aside for a sec. And we can grab our pasta and check on that. Okay, that looks better. Might even need a little bit longer still. We'll see. What is this recipe called? It is called Silverbeet and mushroom pasta. It's essentially like a silverbeet and tomato pasta, that old sort of school Italian recipe. It's got mushrooms in it, but I leave them out, so you're welcome to leave them out. It's got a little bit of bite. It's actually not bad. Sorry, I'm going to strain that. And pop it into our thermo server. And that can sit and wait until the sauce is done. So 3.5 minutes of cooking with the sauce, then we're going to add the silverbeet leaves in, and then I think it's 2 minutes. It actually smells incredible in there. We can do some tidying and put some more things away. And we've got no dishes to do at the end. A couple of bowls to throw in the dishwasher and that's it. How good is that? Hello everyone who's jumping on live. So we are making silverbeet and mushroom pasta. It's on Cookidoo. It's essentially like a tomato and silverbeet recipe, like one of those sort of old school Italian ones. I sub out the mushrooms if you don't like them. Don't let it turn you off. It's absolutely fine without the mushrooms. We're not a big mushroom household. I don't mind mushrooms sometimes. Paul doesn't like them. Which is fine, I get it. They go a bit slimy. It smells so good. Yum. Let me know in the comments, what are you making for dinner tonight? What are you making? This is a great vegan recipe because there's nothing animal, I'm trying to think now. There's no animal products in it, which is great. It's vegetarian, of course, obviously. But yeah, it's vegan. So if you had vegan pasta, because vegan sometimes, pasta sometimes has eggs, but I'm sure you can get vegan pasta. Then this would be a vegan recipe, and a very delicious one at that. I have a few people in my Facebook group who are vegetarian or vegan, somewhere in between, like that. So I always like to point out when recipes can be made vegetarian or can be made vegan as well, because I think we all eat so differently these days, which is great. It's good to call out those things. All right, we're nearly done. We're nearly done. "30 seconds on this, and then I'm pretty sure it had silverbeet leaves, finely sliced, 3 sprigs of fresh basil, leaves only torn." All right. Let's grab some basil, grab all these little bits down the bottom. So that's why it's good to look ahead, see what's coming up, so you can get things ready. I bought this basil today, no doubt it'll be dead in 24 hours, so it's good to use it up. Okay, next, add in our Silverbeet leaves. Again, as I said, I just cut up however much Silverbeet there sort of seems to be. 3 sprigs of basil leaves, finely torn. This is going to give it some beautiful flavour in with the tomatoes. Probably need a few more. Next, again without measuring cup, oops, stirring speed 2 minutes, 100 degrees. That's going to stir through and wilt down the Silverbeet. You don't want the Silverbeet too wilted, so don't stress too much if it doesn't completely wilt down. You can stir it through a bit more at the end with the spatula. There we go. Straight piece of basil. Hello there, Jess, who's jumped on. Let me know what you're cooking for dinner tonight if you are still watching. Say hi. Ask questions, don't be shy. Oh, that Silverbeet's wilting down nicely already. And you just want it cooked, that Silverbeet. We don't want it to be like a sloppy, hot Silverbeet mess. And then the easiest way to serve this is stir it through all the pasta at the end and then dish it up in your bowls. Swear to God, I always trip on this mat. And that Silverbeet was up to the top of the bowl when I put it in. It's completely gone down now. And it's all in the sauce. This is a really simple dish in terms of ingredients, number of ingredients and flavours, but it's really delicious. 11 seconds to go and dinner's ready. There we go. Next, toss pasta sauce through the cooked pasta, season with extra pepper, and garnish with extra basil leaves and shaved parmesan to serve. So you can use shaved parmesan or grated parmesan, anything you like. I just put some on the table and let everyone add it themselves. So that is that. Get everything out. Very carefully stir that through the pasta. Ooh, yummy. Look at that with the onion, Silverbeet, so much in there. Pile it up on the plate. You know me, I always love to pile it up nice and high. We eat with our eyes. So if you can give your food height and texture, it's going to be a lot more appealing. All right. Let's get some more pasta in there. There we go. Look at that. So let's sit that there. Let's bring the Thermomix in because we have to do our little. When I post this to Instagram, it always takes like a screenshot. So I try and make sure I've got a nice like shot for the cover. The cover of the Instagram video. Oh, we've lost our basil. Let's put that one in there. Probably a bit too big, but that's okay. And look at that, Silverbeet and tomato pasta, Silverbeet and mushroom pasta on Cookidoo with red onions, Silverbeet, lots of garlic. Tonight I've cooked it with orecchiette. It's made me hungry now. Well, it is dinner time, so that is why. So let's do our little pose. There we go, done. That always feels weird, but otherwise Instagram will do me dirty. That is it. Nice, quick and easy Sunday dinner. Check it out on Cookidoo. If you haven't got a Thermomix, you know where I am. Send me a message or hit the link in my bio. Don't forget, stock is very limited on the TM7, so if you want to be first in Australia, pre-order it via the link in my bio so you can be in the first delivery at the start of June. Otherwise, it could be a couple of months wait if we run out of stock. And of course, the run out deal on the TM6 if you want to get one of these. Send me a message for more info. But I'm going to enjoy my Sunday meal. So have a great Sunday, everyone. And if you've got a long weekend in Queensland, enjoy your day off tomorrow. Bye.